Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to go through some por versus para examples. So I'm not going to explain in depth what por and para are because that's not the point of this video. But at a high level, para usually conveys some sort of purpose, aim, or destination. And then for por usually describes the means or cause for something. So we're going to go through the examples now. There's 8 of them. And we're going to refer back to these explanations and these images to help explain the answer. All right, let's get into it. So the first example, the book is for the library. El libro es por or para la biblioteca. El libro es por la biblioteca or el libro es para la biblioteca. Are we conveying some sort of purpose, aim, or destination, or the means or cause for something? So this isn't talking about a means or a cause for something. It's talking about a purpose, aim, or destination. So in this case, the aim is the library. The book is for the library, so it's para. So para, because we're talking about the recipient of an action, so we use para. So the destination of the book is the library. The recipient of the book is the library. Next example, we traveled through South America. Viajamos para Sudamérica or viajamos por Sudamérica. So por is used for going for the means or cause of something. In this case, it's the means. Like we traveled through South America. We didn't travel to South America, we traveled through South America. So it's por. Por describes the means or the way something happens. The journey and the location are inseparable and happening at the same time. So remember, por, the two things are happening at the same time. So traveling through South America. It's not traveling to South America. You're not eventually going to get to South America. It's happening right now at the same time. So that's why it says the journey and the location are inseparable and happening at the same time. Now, the word through in Spanish is also a través de. You might be thinking, why are we using por instead of a través de? Like, why wouldn't you say viajamos a través de Sudamérica? And the reason why is because a través de, which is through, is more literal. So if you went through a tunnel or some sort of barrier, a physical barrier, you would say that you went through it, a través de. But the travel in this case doesn't involve going through a distinct barrier or medium. It's more about the general idea of moving around or through the region. So you use por. So if you wanted to say, I walked around the park, you would say, caminé por el parque. Or if you wanted to say, I walked through the park, caminé por el parque. You wouldn't use a través de el parque. It wouldn't sound right. So a través de is more like through, like actually through a barrier. Anyways, I hope that makes sense. Next example is, this letter is for my boss. La carta es por mi jefe or para mi jefe. Why does this thing keep popping up on my screen? It's pissing me off. Anyways, the answer is para. Again, the intended recipient of the letter is my boss, so it's para mi jefe. Next example, I'm here for work. Estoy aquí para trabajo or por trabajo. I'm here for work. So you might be thinking here for work, that's the intention or the aim is work. It's not para. Estoy aquí para trabajo, if you were to say para trabajo, would make sense grammatically, but it would just be a different context. This would mean I'm here for the purpose of working, basically. So like if you show up to a restaurant with a resume in your hand and you're estoy aquí para trabajo, you're looking for work. Your intention is to find work. But in this case, we're saying I'm here for work in the context of I'm here right now for work, because of work. So that would be por trabajo. So it's not always one or the other. It depends on the context you're trying to say. So if you're here because of work, then it's por. So the answer is por. If you can replace the word for with because of, then you use por. And why does that make sense? Because por describes the reason or cause for being there. So por looks backward. to the reason. So remember, estoy aquí para trabajo looks forward. You're here in order to work, with the intention of working. That's why you have a resume in your hand. That's why you showed up to the place. Whereas estoy aquí por trabajo is looking backwards. You have the job, you have the work, you showed up because of that. Because of work. You're here because of work. So the way I remembered it was, if you ever have for and you can replace it with because of, you use por. Work is the cause that led you to being here. Okay, next example is they traveled by train. Viajaron por tren or viajaron para tren. Again, this is similar to this one. We traveled through South America. It's like the medium through which you did something. So they traveled by train would be por, because traveling by train is the means of doing something. So remember, going back to this image, you traveled by train. Wouldn't make sense to use para. Next one, she wrote a letter for her brother. So for her brother as in on behalf of her brother. So her brother maybe has a broken hand, he can't write the letter, so she wrote the letter for him. Would that be por or para? Ella escribió una carta, a letter, para su hermano or por su hermano. It would be por in this example. She wrote the letter on his behalf, perhaps because he was unable to do it himself. So por describes substitution or cause. So we've already gone over cause. Cause is looking backwards. But remember, por is also used for when two things are happening at the same time. So if I substitute one thing for another, it's happening at the same time. This thing is in, this thing is out. So in this case, her brother can't write the letter, so he's out, and the sister comes in to write the letter. So it's a substitution. And that's why it's por. Or you could look at it as the cause. She's writing the letter because he can't. So por. But yes, on behalf of would be por. So por describes substitution or cause. Now, what if it's she wrote a letter for her brother, but to him? So she's writing the letter for her brother. Like it's going to be sent to him. It's for him to read. Then it would be ella escribió una carta para su hermano. The letter is intended for him to receive or read. The letter's purpose is forward-facing, as it is destined to reach and be received by her brother. So in the example before, it wasn't forward-facing. It's she wrote a letter on behalf of her brother. And if you're thinking, how am I ever going to remember this? Like when I'm speaking, how am I... there's so much to think about, whether to say por or para. For me, the only way that worked was doing exercises like this, where I kind of have to fill in the blank of whether it's por or para, which I have a whole exercise in my program with a bunch of different examples. But if you can get your hands on examples that drill this in, then you won't have to think about it. It'll just come naturally. But at the beginning, of course, you need to understand why it's por and why it's para. But once you drill in enough examples, it'll just come naturally. And then the final example is that they work hard for a better future. So se trabajan duro por un futuro mejor or para un futuro mejor. This is misleading. The answer is actually para, because we're talking about an intention. They work hard in order to have a better future, for a better future. So remember how I said if you can replace the for with like because of, then use por. If you can replace the for with in order to, future facing, then you use para. So in this case, it's in order to have a better future, for a better future, so we use para. So para conveys purpose or aim. Their hard work is forward-facing. It's directed towards achieving the goal of a better future. So hopefully that helped. Like I said, the only way you're really going to drill this in is with a bunch of examples. You don't want to be in a conversation trying to calculate whether to use por or para. You want to just get to a point where it's natural and you can kind of feel it out without even being able to explain why it's one or the other. And the only way that's going to happen is by doing a bunch of examples like this. Like I said, for anyone who's really trying to become conversational in Spanish, you're really interested in that, you can hit me up on Instagram. Just send me the word convo, and yeah, there's a bunch of, I've got a whole program where we work one-on-one for you to become conversational in Spanish. But if you're not looking to take it that seriously and you just want to take it on your own pace, then hopefully these videos will help you out. So I'll see you in the next one. Peace.